problem with the medicines and vaccines shortages today is not a regional or a national problem, it's a global problem. It's a disruption to the healthcare services that we normally should have. It's not that it's coming from one place, it can be anywhere along the supply chain, from a raw material through manufacturing and all the way out to the point where the medicine or the vaccine is being used. UNICEF recently made a report available, a survey where they have been asking people in 90 countries, and it turned out that only 10% of the stockouts were caused by a global issue or manufacturing problem. This is a very complex issue, but let's try and see if we can look at it in a little bit of a structured way. So if we start with what we can call the supply side. So a manufacturer supplies the products, the medicine, the vaccine. One of the things that can happen is that there can be a production issue, so a manufacturing quality issue. That can cause a disruption to the supply. It could also be that a raw material all of a sudden is not available, or other things along the way of that. It also happens in some cases the supplier base, the number of manufacturers of a certain medicine or vaccine is very limited. And if one supplier has a problem, the other suppliers cannot absorb the need for supply. That's, for instance, the case for many generics, generic medicines, where the profitability of the product is very, very low, and there may be only one or two suppliers worldwide, and if there's a problem, then there's a general problem. The other thing is on the demand side. It could be that all of a sudden there's an increase in demand that was not forecasted. It can be that there's an outbreak of a disease and therefore there's a higher need. It's not always easy just to adjust to a change in demand. And I can mention my own industry, the vaccine industry, where it takes 2 years from you start manufacture of a batch till you actually release it. And that's because there's so many different manufacturing steps, so much control, so many tests. We're talking thousands of analytical tests to make sure that the product is absolutely correct in terms of quality. And then the fact about capacity, what if the capacity need increases overall? It takes up to 5 years, maybe even more, to produce from a new facility. And then there's something we could call information. But what's important here is that sometimes we have a discrepancy between demand and supply in terms of communication. And then we have a situation which is called the regulatory complexity for what we call post-approval changes. You can think about it in your own case with a phone. How long have you had your phone and how often do you change it? And if you have a phone that's 5, 6 or 7 years old, and there's a problem, can you get spare parts? Can it be fixed? Probably not. It's the same with manufacturing. We need to continually improve our processes, technologies. The problem is that the same change is assessed for its quality and safety components by, in some cases, more than 100 individual countries. And that's not necessary. For the short term, the first thing is to try and prevent shortages by having an early dialogue. As an industry, we are committed to do what we call risk assessments. Where are the biggest risks to supply? And we'll be happy, and are doing today, communicating with health authorities. If that communication could be standardized so that we don't have to fill out different forms for each country or different requirements, that would help us a lot. We need to have better forecasts. There needs to be much better forecast about what's needed. As I said, in the vaccine industry, it takes 2 years from a batch is started till it's actually released. So we need to know in advance what are the expectations in terms of supply. But it also goes for many other medicines. And then there's a longer term. We need to do a really thorough analysis of where is it that the problem is biggest, where is the root cause most often happening, and is there any change in that, is there any trend in that? And then for each of these, we need to look at solutions together. On the regulatory pathway, we need to simplify. We can no longer live with a situation where each country operates in isolation from the rest of the world. We're one world, and for every global manufacturer, we look at global supply, and countries need to work together much more than they are doing today. It's important that our medicines are always of high quality. It's important that the vaccines are as they should be as well. At the end of the day, what this is all about is improved public health. And I think the whole world is just waiting for us to get together, talk about the issues, find solutions. It's a global problem. It requires a global solution.